First world luxury.
Hi!
Hi!
I've never needed a mic in my entire life. So when they asked me to mod this panel, I was in. I'm Liz Galati. My company Sphinx PR does public relations, sales, and marketing. And that might seem a little funny for modding a panel on gamification in the classroom, but I have seen firsthand what can be done when you bring games to the classroom. And that is why I jumped at the chance to be part of this. We have a fabulous panel full of people who have real world experience, and not only that, all of these people really want to hear your experiences, and this is an inclusive experience. We want to hear from you. You know, the best results come when people voice what's going on. So questions are preferred over statements, and we want to hear from you. But I will let these nice people introduce themselves, because that's the best way to get to know people.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
I love call and response. That's great. I am Ronell Whitaker. I've been teaching for 12 years now. I started in the inner cities of Chicago, moved to the southern-ish tip of Chicago to teach, and I've been using game-like, play-like principles in my class for the last 7 years, I guess. And I love comics, so I'm glad to be here.
Hi.
Hi.
You're right. I'm Jason Nisovic. I teach at the same district as Ronell, and I've been teaching for about 10 years now. And one of the things that happens when you teach the same thing for 10 years is you get super duper bored. And so making a game out of the things that you teach is really important to me, because that gives me something exciting to look forward to day after day. So I'm going to, with my friends here, we're going to show you some games that'll spice up your classroom a little bit. Spice? That's the wrong word. Wrong word. Sorry.
Hi.
Hi.
That's about on par from the last hi. I thought it was going to go down as we went. I'm Eric Callenborn. I teach in the same district with these two guys. I've been teaching for 12 years, just like Ronell. I teach English, everything from the lowest level of freshmen all the way up to the highest level of seniors at our district. I've taught it all. I use comics, graphic novels. I actually teach this year. I teach a graphic novels course, a film and literature course, and AP language and composition. So I have an amazing schedule. I love it, and I incorporate, like Jason, things get quite boring sometimes. So you got to incorporate gamification in order to keep things fresh and lively. I'm having a great time today so far. I want to keep it rolling with this panel. I'm glad you're all here, and I'm excited to be here with you.
So I'm from Colorado, so hi means a completely different thing to me. So we're going to skip that one. My name's Ilya Kowalchuk. I'm the Director of Education for a nonprofit called Pop Culture Classroom. And I was a gentleman that handed out all of the samples for Game On. I taught for middle school for 10 years and used a ton of pop culture, everything from video games to comics to graffiti art, swing dancing, into my classroom as a way to connect with kids. And now I'm fortunate enough that I get to run year-round educational outreach, design curriculum in organizations like schools, community organizations, jails, and whatnot. So I'm excited to be here as well and talk to you about the kinds of game design programs and curriculum that we use. Thanks for coming.
Sweet. All right, first question. Gamification has become kind of a buzzword to some people. So why don't we figure out with the experts, what is gamification?
I want to figure out what expert is first. Okay, so at least I think, and I don't want to speak for everybody, but in my classroom, all gamification means to me is I find a way to introduce the principles of play into my classroom. I think that there's this really weird phenomena out there with some people where they feel like you're not learning unless you're bored, which is dangerous. So we kind of feel like, hey, you should probably enjoy being in the classroom. It's kind of why kids want to be there. So gamification for us can be anything from setting goals and then making that a fun goal to achieve. So like unlocking things, kids love unlocking stuff. Other ways could be like a reward-based system, and not like candy, but like badges, because kids love badges for some reason. and that's kind of where we've gone from there. And I'm going to talk a little bit later about a couple of people that have kind of inspired me more to inject play into it. But that's what gamification means to me, though.
Yeah, I would agree. So in terms of teaching, teaching, when you come right down to it, is you have a series of goals, whether it's state standards or you're teaching for an AP exam or you're teaching for the SAT, what have you, and you have to achieve those goals. Well, just because your goal might be dry doesn't mean the material has to be dry. And so one of the things that I love about teaching where I teach is that as long as you achieve the objective, student mastery over, X or what have you, they don't really care how you do it. And so why not make it a little bit more fun? And so if you're just playing around in your classroom and you're not achieving anything, productive, then you can argue that games in the classroom have no place. But to truly achieve successful gamification, I think, is everything that you do and everything that I do with my games has a point. You can take your finger and draw a line right to the objective, right to the state standard that it looks to achieve. So I think that would be the expert approach to what.
Yeah, I'll just add real quick and say this is nothing new. I mean, Mary Poppins was doing it, talking about a spoonful of sugar, right? I mean, that's exactly what this is. It's a spoonful of sugar helping that medicine go down. So, yeah, props to Mary Poppins.
And I would just offer a different perspective in that gamification can often be seen as a buzzword, and a lot of folks, maybe some of you in the audience, feel like gamification necessitates the purchase of expensive software for you to manage all of that. And that's not necessarily the case. One of the things that I would also offer is that you can consider bringing games into your classroom in a way that's not necessarily involved essentially a reskinning of the grading structure, right? So changing an A to a gold medal, a B to a silver medal, and so forth, that you can look at using games in fundamentally different ways to deliver instruction, which I think was a little bit of what Jason was speaking about too, and what I'll talk about later with Game On, but that you don't feel that games are just a similar way with different language to do kind of the same thing, that games can be very different ways to accomplish the same means.
Cool. I love all of this. So obviously, this is a huge scope. So how can this be applied to a wide range of subjects? And I would love it if you guys can include like real world success stories. Cool.
Okay. Do you want to start with your example?
I'll start with an example. One of the, and I'll talk about this too. So I was starting. When I got into gamification in the classroom, it really started with our district paying for this website called Kia.com, whatever. And you could make like, Battleship and all that kind of stuff. And that was nice.
I love it.
Yeah, I mean, it was nice. Kids would be able to work through, review stuff by playing Battleship or Hangman, things like that. And that was cool. I kind of saw the tip of the iceberg with that. But then I got on Twitter, which has been like my best PLN building place to go. Like if I want to build my professional learning and learn more about like best practices, I go there. And I met this guy. His name was Quinn Rollins, but when I met him, he was at Jedi Kermit. Just like, I'll take this guy seriously. But then I talked to him, and he wrote this book called Play Like a Pirate. And I don't know if you ever heard of this other book Dave Burgess wrote, like Teach Like a Pirate. I don't know why pirates are becoming experts in everything. All I thought they were good at was like being dirty. But this book, Play Like a Pirate, is and his Suna website has been kind of an inspiration for me because he kind of thinks outside the box with what learning is. So he's kind of showed me ways to like incorporate things like Lego modeling into my classroom. It's not like as simple as making dioramas. Kids can use Legos for storytelling. I'm an English teacher, so story is massive for me, and that's been a thing that he kind of helped me figure out. There's also, and this is not indicative of what he does, he also talks about how to use Play-Doh to like for symbolism and things like that. At the bottom of his page, there's like he has models for like Lego stuff, which is really cool. The other example I found recently that's kind of a craze, and one of the teachers, and two teachers in our district are actually going to be presenting about this at our district, like day out, our teacher fair. It's like the escape room principles. Anybody ever watched like those escape room shows before? Well, Breakout EDU sells a kit, and honestly, I mean, it's great. They're a great site. If you want to give them money to, do this kit, you can do that. But you can also hook up with your woodshop person and make the same thing. And you could use these principles of the breakout idea, where you it's like a problem-solving deal, where they have to break into this box that has like a prize. And it's like when we did it recently, there was like these Reese's in the box, which I love chocolate, so I had to get to that. And we had to follow like number logic. We had to read for information to be able to unlock this box. And it was a team building exercise as well as a problem solving exercise. And I think that was game changer for me, because thinking outside of the book and thinking outside of text was something I've been trying to figure out for myself. And Breakout EDU was great for that.
So yeah, Ronell primarily teaches English, and if you're doing a review, it almost doesn't matter what sort of class that you're teaching, what subject. There are some simple things that you can do that are very inexpensive, like Eli was saying. Like if you're doing review terms, you can make flashcards, and you can turn flashcards into a game. If anyone has ever played Catchphrase, you can buy those catchphrase discs, they're digital, at Target. Well, you can make your own classroom catchphrase by just buying a stopwatch, and then the students go around with their flashcards. They have to get the other kids in their group to guess what their word is without using the word. And they have to do it and then pass it like hot potato. Whoever has the card in hand when the stopwatch goes off loses, everybody else gets a point. So you can have something that simple and that inexpensive just to start out with. One of the absolutely, completely, and totally free options that I've used to completely transform my government classroom looks like this. I want to introduce you to my nation. This is the Republic of Nycc 17. There was a Nycc 16, a Nycc 15. Every single year in my government class, I create a new nation. And so one of the things that I have to do is I have to teach my students about the important decisions that go into a country so that they can start to perhaps empathize with leaders. It's very, very easy to tear down leaders and criticize leaders. But when you become a leader yourself, you can start to understand exactly what sort of hard decisions that they have to make. And so at nationstates.net, you can answer a couple of very simple questions. One of them is, should marijuana be legal? And based on your answers, it creates a country that has certain scores. So how free are your people? How well is your economy doing? And how able are they to express themselves? Can they protest the government? Are they free? And as my students go through this, they're going to have to answer different issues. And every single issue that they answer is going to change their nation. So I have certain standards that they have to meet, because in this game it's very, very easy to become a crazy tyrant and enslave your people. And one of the first questions that the game asks is, should we force people to vote? And so you can either make voting mandatory, you can make voting not mandatory, or you can just not have people vote anymore and just be president for life. And I tell them, be careful, because you're going to have to start over the game because you just turned your country into a dictatorship. So you can be a dictatorship, you can be an anarchy, but at the end of the day, I have some standards that make them compromise. They have to have their tax rate, it has to be under 50%. They have to have these scores at certain levels. And I make different decisions, because I've done this so many times before, that I make some decisions that deliberately make my nation worse, so I can show them how to make it better. So I started my nation deliberately answering the questions so that my economy would be in the tank. And so now we slowly bring it up and we show how. So this absolutely free program lets me gamify my whole government semester. So they're going to have to give feedback on it, they're going to have to work with this. So this, plus if you were at our earlier panel, where I use a graphic novel to teach the Constitution, I'm trying to make it as active and engaging as possible, and I've taken up a lot of time. I'm sorry, guys.
Can you repeat that site though again, real quick?
Nationstates.net. One word.
I'll just use one example of something that I've used in the past, which is I used to play a lot of Magic the Gathering, and I'm sure, right? MTG. There was, and I said, well, you know what I'm going to try to do, and I actually even worked for a minute with the people over at Wizards of the Coast, because I was like, I want to use your game, which means I'm going to be bringing a lot of new players into this world, which means a lot of money for you. And I taught my kids how to play Magic the Gathering, and it's a very complex game, but it basically works on a series of 5 colors, and each color has a specific tone set to it, and each of those colors means something different. So just speaking very simply to it, if you learn how to play that game, even not teaching your kids, if you just explain what the color schemes are, you can then discuss tone of characters, both real and fictional. So you can talk about the characters of To Kill a Mockingbird and give them colors from Magic the Gathering and have the students kind of then defend those colors in the decisions they've made. Or you can actually create, if you know how to play the game, you can create a To Kill a Mockingbird magic set. What does the Atticus Finch card have? What color is it? What is his special abilities? What are the artifacts? You know, is Boo Radley's house a land? Those are kind of things you would think about if you were take your favorite game, card game, tabletop game, whatever you have, and what would it take for you to then create that for your classroom? Now, one of the questions was asked was multiple disciplines. Well, we were in the educator meet and greet, and I just found out that somebody had converted Magic the Gathering in biology, and uses it to like show how the like parts of the body interact with each other through playing cards of creating a Magic Gathering game of the body, and how they interact and how they affect each other. I'm like, that is brilliant. So you can use Magic and put it on English, put it on social studies, put it on science, I mean, health. So many of these things are relatable in all of these disciplines. You just need to have passion for it as well. If you don't have passion for it, like some of you are like, yep, I know Magic the Gathering, ain't my thing, sorry dude. Okay, that's fine. But there are things, you're in this room, so you're passionate about gaming in some way, shape, or form, hopefully. So find that game that interests you, and then spin it. Like Ronald was saying, or Jason was saying with the flashcards, the catchphrase. If that's a game you play with your friends on a Friday night, how do you make that relatable to your classroom? That is the best thing I've found. When I was like, oh my god, I can create a To Kill a Mockingbird Magic the Gathering set? Yeah, I'm going to try doing that. Did it fail miserably? Kinda. But I tried it, and my kids learned something from it, and I learned something from it. So there's a lot of trial and error. Nothing's foolproof. You guys know that. So yeah, that's what I will leave you with right now, and pass it over to Ilya.
So the other thing that I would offer is what I was handing out before the session started, which is a specific tool similar to what Jason and Ronell were talking about. And the Game On curriculum, some of you may have read, is a curriculum that we designed and sell to teachers, and it's 2 units in one. So in it, the basic idea of it is you would be teaching some content and then use Game On to reinforce that content. So it could apply to the fall of the Roman Empire. It could apply to biological processes such as the reproductive game. We had a student create a game called Designer Babies, where you would go around and you would gather up different chromosomes and in order to design the kind of baby that you wanted. And that was her response to this genetic modification issue that's contemporary in society right now. And so through the lessons you can use either the resource management game, like anybody played Settlers of Catan before or anything like that. Really, that's it? That's all we got for Catan in the room?
there it is. Come out of the closet on Settlers of Catan.
So, and then also for younger kids, a roll and move game. So from point A to point B with obstacles in the middle. And it's an opportunity for you to engage with your students, and then what they get to do is then they say, all right, this is the content I know, and they learn the game design process through playing different mods. So if you're trying to modify the mechanics or the interactivity of the game, what's included in the lessons is this idea that, all right, so we can play with a basic game that we know, like tic-tac-toe, And then what if we change it to a 4x4 grid instead of a 3x3? Or what if we say all the spaces are numbered, and then you take 2 d6s and you roll them, and that's where you have to move. And if somebody else is already on that space, then you get to change it from an X to an O, or vice versa. So the kids experience those different mods. They see how gameplay is affected, and then they learn, if you make these things happen, or if you change the mechanics, interactivity, if you change the aesthetic appeal, how much is that going to affect the way that the game plays and how much people want to play it? So I know that when I attend panels, it's frustrating for me to walk away and hear a lot of theory. So I wanted to give you something that you could walk away with and feel like you could use tomorrow. The websites are great. The unit that the Game On stuff is also another resource as well. So I don't know. I'll stop there.
How much of this is new information for you? Is a lot of, is this, okay, we got one there. Is this new stuff that you're hearing? That's awesome. This is good. We are making change. Now, the next question that we kind of wanted to go over with tools, but I kind of feel like that we've gotten a lot of that, or do you guys have any more stuff that you want to kind of get out of tools to do all this?
Yeah, I got some more.
Go for it.
I had one that just struck me because I was a kid in this class. My English teacher was weird, like we tend to be, and she had us, and it struck me now, just being here, like, oh, that was a thing we could have done. We made a role-playing game out of Great Expectations, because she really loved that story, and I don't know most of the terms. I walked away from it really understanding how storytelling worked a lot better, because she broke the story down into like mechanics, like a thing that I know how it works. I know how games work, so now I've figured out how this story works through that. One of the things that we tend to do a lot is we have kids make their own games, and I know some teachers in here have probably tried something like that. One of my colleagues has kids make their own board games, and this one kid made a massive Monopoly for Great Gatsby, which was depressing but awesome. And it was playable. Like what this person would do is she would have her kids make games of the stories that they read, and then they play them and test them and see if they actually worked. And she only kept the good ones. That's why I know the Great Gatsby one was great. So I mean that's another thing that you can do, and that came from the kids, and it kind of taught them the skill of how storytelling works. Because again, as an English teacher, that's massive for me.
One of the things that I love to do, when walking the con floor, is I would like to see if there are games that are not originally meant for educational purposes that you can turn to educational purposes. And so I teach psychology, and so it's very, very easy to find ways to adapt games. So Super Fight is an amazing game if you're trying to teach argumentation, if you're trying to teach personality, if you're trying to teach any sort of formation of a thesis, because what you do is you can play it a couple different ways. The simplified way that I play it in the class is that you have two kids facing off against each other, and they have a white card. So that white card could be an army of squirrels, and then the other person has a white card that is a scuba diver, and then they have black cards that they add to their thing. So you could have a squirrel that has a laser gun that is 100 feet tall, versus a scuba diver that can read minds and has a harpoon gun. And so then they have to argue for a judge in a certain amount of time which character would win in a fight.
Squirrel wins.
I mean, probably. that was a very mismatched example, I think. You can also have them sabotage each other with their own black cards. So if I have one that's like, passes out really easily, I can play it on your guy, and all of a sudden I have, something to argue with. Like, you're a scuba diver underwater and you pass out easily, yeah, you're probably not going to win against a 100-foot tall squirrel. So when I incorporate that into my class, I have them play for like the first half of the period, and then the second half of the period, we connect it to the content. Same thing for Ultimate Werewolf.
Yeah.
I am able to facilitate 30-person games of Ultimate Werewolf in my psychology class because it is a very engaging game. If you've ever played Mafia or anything like this, it's where everybody has a role that they keep secret, and then they all go to sleep at night. During the night, the werewolves wake up, silently kill somebody, and and then everybody else wakes up, and they have to figure out who the werewolf is, with basically no evidence. So if you were going to teach the Salem witch trials, where people are like, I saw her dancing with the devil! Like, you would not believe how quick teenagers are to just throw each other under the bus. So I linked this specifically to the Myers-Briggs personality test, so you can see who the extroverts are, the introverts are, the sensors, the perceivers, and then we hypothesize how would they play this game, and does your definition match up with how you played the game. You know, and it could be as simple as dice. What can you do with dice? If you have, 100 dice in your class, which, in the grand scheme of things isn't that expensive,